The newspapers are ready, and this morning we'll take a look at them and try and take some conversations from what's on their front pages. Now, the Daily Graphic begins, Obinim supporters clash with police. And the pictures are here. At a point, some of them had to be driven away with the use of water cannons by the police service. Also on the Daily Graphic, ECG workers disrupt operations and Afram Plains District Assembly commences rehabilitation of police stations. Now, ECG workers disrupting operations and then Obinim supporters clash with police will attract our attention this morning. The Ghanaian Times has the same stories here. ECG workers down tools for 3 hours, and then Daniel Obinim's arrest for fraud, supporters locked down in police headquarters. The Daily Guide carries that same story. The ECG story, workers protest sale, and Angel Obinim supporters on rampage over cock and bull story. The Daily Statesman says Ghana safer with Akufo-Addo than corrupt Muhammad. That's according to John Buedu, the NPP's acting general secretary. The BNFT has SMEs not investor ready data bank balls, and these are some papers right here with me this morning. My guest this morning to help me do the conversation to my right is a member of the communication team of the NPP, John Kumar. John, good morning.
Good morning.
And I hope you're looking great.
I am good.
We're grateful for your time this morning. And then to my immediate right is a former second national vice chair of the CPP, Madam Rhoda Ayana. Good morning too. Good morning. And I hope you're doing great as well. I'm grateful. To my left is a member of the NDC legal team and a legal practitioner, John, did I say John? Abraham Amalba. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing well.
Quite well.
Great. I'm trying to get you to use John's name too.
Yes, that's the NDC trump card.
Oh, okay. Every John will go there.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. I'm grateful, gentlemen and lady, for your time. Let's start with this story, quite disturbing for me. ECG workers were told on rampage, and what is disturbing is a story I'm reading from the Daily Guide suggesting that they have threatened to plunge the whole country into darkness on Friday. That's tomorrow. So the D-Day is tomorrow. Now, the blackout, according to the workers, is part of a 3-day protest intended against the privatization of the company. Now, yesterday they laid out their tool. They said from 3 hours every day they were not going to work. But the key thing here is that tomorrow they plan to plunge the whole Ghana into darkness, and he raises concerns about issues of concession. They're asking government where Aqua Veterans Run is. They're asking government to stop dumping substandard meters on UCG, and they're asking government to be a little sensitive to the same people who voted for them. ECG workers talking there. Madam Ayan, I'm starting with you. Tomorrow is the D-Day.
Yes.
Friday, the whole country will be in darkness. That's according to ECG workers, and they started yesterday. Can they really, or are they really making grounds for government to stop this whole privatization thing? Are they able to do it? Should we go ahead? So many questions that I'm sure we'll try and find answers to.
Yes. Good morning, Ghana. I think everyone in this country is not satisfied with the energy situation that we're having, especially when it comes to electricity. And we are also not very happy, I am sure, that somehow along the line, all we know how to do is sell. We elect governments into power to try to solve problems for us. And one way that I have seen that the NDC government in particular has succeeded in doing is always selling when they feel that they don't have the means of correcting something. If we get out and say we're going to sell ECG, we don't even know, for those of us in the public, we don't even know the modalities. We don't know how transparent this whole negotiation is. We don't even know anything about it. And any time that it comes up, our president will tell us that, look what happened to Vodafone when Ghana Telecom went and Vodafone came. And for all that I know, because I happen to be one of the few who took Vodafone to court.
Right.
So I do know that the Vodafone deal was not a good deal. The Vodafone deal was not transparent. And therefore, we cannot use Vodafone as a yardstick to see how successful or not this ECG privatization is going to be. Now, if we think that, and we also know that the government owes the ECG so much, and the government has not made any, shall I say, payments to alleviate the sufferings of ECG. We also do know that when it comes to privatization, even though government will continue to tell us that there will be no loss of jobs, we do know that there will be loss of jobs. We also do know that this whole issue comes out of the IMF supports that we are getting, and that some of these things are actually part of the conditions that were set by the IMF. And if it is true, the major thing is it going to benefit us as Ghanaians? Because you see, electricity is the one thing that at least I know that helps a country to develop. We need the energy to develop. And if we cannot actually get it at the prices that we can afford, then it means that this whole talk of industrialization that all of us, including my party, is fighting for is not going to come on. So I side with the workers who are saying that no, it isn't that we are incompetent. It isn't that we are not capable of delivering to this country. But the whole issue is that government is not playing its part. Government owes us so much that government is not coming forward to alleviate that particular bit. That will make our work easier. That will make us be able to give out the best that we can to Ghanaians. So I support them. Looking at the whole scenario, we've enjoyed doomsday for so long. Plunging us into darkness is also their way of telling the government that we mean business. Because after all, this is a country that we've gifted everything to one person. This country is gifted to the president. He has the power to fire and hire. He has the power to release people when he feels like it. He has the power to do anything. And that's in the constitution that you and I believe and uphold in. So for me, I think that it's time for us to sit down and really look at certain things like privatization. It's the new order of the day. All over the world, people are privatized. Governments are privatizing. But is it good for us?
So for you, the problem with ECG is not about privatizing it. It's about government paying its debt.
Yes, for me, it is.
I think that come back.
I think that
efficient operations.
Yes, ECG is viable. ECG is capable of running its business if only government will make right payments. If government will come through with the payments. Because you see, when you look at ECG, ECG has no problem really. ECG is only a distributor. So how about VRA? How about Gridco? What are they going? Are we going to finally privatize VRA? You see, when we keep talking about people not performing, we can say that our government is not performing. So should we just throw it out there? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, Ghanaians, I don't think, are satisfied as we are now. We have unemployment. We have poverty looking at us. We have terrible things happening in this country right now. But are we saying that because it is so bad, you know, all at once we just say privatize, let's go and do something about it? No, we have to find ways and means of fixing things. It is fixing. It's not always a question of selling. You understand? We seem to want to sell everything. As we sit now, there's so many government or state bungalows that I am told have been sold out. Do we know? The latest that I'm hearing, and which I would want our honorable member here from the NDC to tell us whether it is true that our Chief Justice has bought her property. I would want to know that.
That is Mr. Maliban knows.
Maybe, I don't know, but I'm only trying to say that.
We'll ask him when we get to it.
Yes, but the whole thing is that this idea of privatizing without any transparency. We need to know who's buying. We need to know what the conditions are. We need to know for how long, how the modalities. We need to know as a country and as a people. We can't continuously throw out state properties, something that you and I pay taxes to build up. And then suddenly, one person out of a stroke of a pen decides to gift it to some other person.
If it is not working well, let me put that question
to not working well?
Mr. Kuman. See, John, so Madam Rhoda alluded to the fact that one key argument has been that look at Vodafone. So perhaps we should look at Vodafone and do whatever we want to do to ECG.
Yes, let me say good morning to Ghana and to a special good morning to our flag bearer, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and to encourage our supporters to keep supporting the party by buying the cards and contributing our quota towards the campaign. The question of ECG and its privatization, I think it is the handling that has become the problem. The communication with the workers and the assurance that they are not going to be jobless whilst the transaction go through, I think is one of the major fear. If you read the agitation, the core of their concern is that most of them are going to be jobless at the end of the day, and they believe that the so-called concessionaire coming is not coming with anything new. And usually that is the case. When you look at Aqua runs Vitesse and how they run Ghana Water, they didn't come with any investment. At the end of the day, they left Ghana Water worse off than they even took it. So people are raising concerns that we ought to know what are the details and what are the assurances that you are giving to workers to ensure that ECG will not be worse off. And I agree when they say that ECG is a viable institution and it can run and make profit even for the nation.
Sure.
Yes.
With all the inefficiencies we see, our lights get put on, we're not told how and when.
They have complained why these things happen, that the level of their inefficiencies.
Is it because government is indebted so much?
Exactly.
So they can't tell us when they are putting our lights
Exactly, and they are fighting against a superior body that they cannot control. In fact, it's the reverse. The head of the institution is even appointed by government. And if government is failing on its part in terms of what it takes for them and what it has to give, then you make them worse off. You put them in a terrible situation. It's like you give a dog a bad name and you hang it. That's exactly what government is seeking to do. But at the end of the day, these new people coming, what would they do? Cut off all those people who owe electricity bill, give them a month to pay, and that's a huge revenue for them to start from. They will bring nothing. So if we know the way out, why do we wait for a foreign partner or a new party, a new entity to then come and take over what we can transform and make better ourselves? So we have to listen to the concerns of the ECG workers. And it is rare that you have a group of people who are so confident in their abilities. They are confident that they can resolve the problem. Why is it that government is not listening to them and giving them opportunity to prove themselves that they can perform? And I strongly believe that ECG can perform. If government can, take off its hands from its finances and make sure that whatever power they are taking from ECG, they pay just like every Ghanaian pays. And then you allow them space to operate without government interferences. These are the concerns they are saying. They believe that given the opportunity, they can build a better ECG for this country and will improve without creating any job losses for the workers. So, but I know, like Madam rightly said, this is part of the IMF conditionalities. And no amount of protestation and opposition will stop this government. It will go ahead with this transaction. But I hope that it will open up more to the workers. And the threat of total darkness tomorrow, I don't know how true is going to be executed and what measures people are taking. At least I'm happy we have the notice. Yes. So all of us will be preparing. They should do it. But at the end of the day, beyond tomorrow's total darkness that we are all anticipating, is there a way of reaching out to these workers and allaying their fears and reassuring them that even where there is a new partner, these are the steps we are going to take to ensure that you don't lose your jobs unnecessarily, or the way forward is to, we all have to have details of what the transaction is about and its impact on our nation.
John, I'm grateful for your time. Mr. Maliba, so the key thing here is this, that John and Madam Brother are suggesting that if government stays away from the finances of ECG and pays it, this company is capable of handling its operations.
Let me start by saying good morning to your viewers and to my colleague panelists. First and foremost, let me state emphatically that ECG is not being sold. ECG is not for sale. And the government has repeated this time and time again. If you sell something, it means that you have diversified your interest in that thing and you no longer own it. But the kind of arrangement we are going in is such that we still own the properties of ECG. What is happening is what is called management concession. We are bringing in somebody who would partner government to manage ECG. That person would not only come to manage, but will also invest, will bring in some money to invest. The investment aspect of it is because of the lessons we learned from the Aqua Vitens situation, where we only brought a manager and that manager did not bring in any finances and we didn't see any improvement in the water sector. Having learned that lesson, we've decided that this time round, whoever is coming must come and inject some money in the system. As I speak to you now, we have over 110 megawatts of electricity, in excess of what we consume as we speak. And when you call the utility provider, they'll tell you we have 110 megawatts in excess of our needs as we speak.
A kind of a reserve.
A kind of reserve. We've gone, yes. But you see, I'm sure that this morning there will be some places who cannot even watch this program because their lights are off. Not because we are not being able to generate, but because we are not able to distribute. Now, ECG is a distributor. ECG does not distribute using any other means but equipments. These equipments are outmoded. These equipments have not been replaced, and ECG on its own budget cannot replace this equipment. That is where the management consultant or the management concession will now come and improve upon ECG's ability to distribute. So if you look at it from that angle, you understand where government is coming from. The example given by Madam Rhoda concerning Vodafone as a good example, I will even go beyond that and indicate that when this government...
No, she didn't say it's a good... She said, well...
Well, we are touting it as a good example.
Okay.
We are touting as a good example.
Without knowing the details. That is what she said.
Yeah, we are touting as a good example. But I'm even going beyond that and even saying that when we took that decision to fully deregulate our petroleum sector, there were people who were saying that don't go there. You will form cartels. The petroleum sector, the bulk oil distributors will form cartels and then they will shortchange the people of this country. Today, who are the beneficiaries of this deregulation? Do we now have queues? We don't have queues at our filling stations. This is what a government that has foresight would do. In the face of strong agitations, in the face of disagreement, once you have the authority, what you do is to exercise the authority for the benefit of the people of this country. For the workers, I sympathize with them. I feel that for a very long time, they have not been brought into the picture. That's what I think. And they are a key stakeholder.
So what Madam Broda is suggesting is indeed the case, that there is no transparency in the whole transaction?
No, if somebody is not part of a discussion, doesn't mean that you are being dubious. It's just that you have not brought him on board. Now, the workers not having been brought on board will not understand the nuances of the transaction, that management concession. I think
but is that good enough?
It's not. I think that I will blame those who did not bring in the workers on board. I speak for government, but I think that this is where we have faulted. The whole idea is good, but we needed to bring them on board so that they could also understand the nuances. Because much as they are workers, they are also consumers of electricity. If we were able to bring them on board and explain to them that the benefits of the concession would accrue to all Ghanaians, including them, I'm sure they would have bought into it. Their main concern is loss of jobs. But again, this has been explained to them that at least the concession has it that for the first 5 years, no jobs will be lost. Indeed, for the first 5 years, the management concessionaire is supposed to even train some of the workers and repost them to areas that they need their services.
After 5 years?
Within the 5 years.
After 5 years?
Within the 5 years before.
Okay. Then
they
after
have to
5 years they
retrain
go
them.
home?
No, nobody is going home.
That is rationalization.
Nobody is going home. The issue has to do with not bringing on board the workers to be part of the discussions. I think that the Minister of Power, my good friend John Jinapo, should begin to reach out to them, to include them in these discussions. But all in all, the whole idea is to bring in somebody who will inject capital. Now you talk about government owing ECG.
Because I want to ask you that you mentioned that equipment is one key problem, obsolete equipment. How would you react to the concerns that, well, if government pays its debt, ECG can procure those equipment and work with?
See, government has taken steps to fix prepaid meters in the ministries and in government bungalows. Now, look at where the bulk of this debt are coming from. They are coming from the hospitals like the Kolebu hospitals. They are coming from our schools. You've heard
the second cycles.
You've heard the universities crying that you don't want to put a prepaid meter at Kolebu, and when they are operating on somebody, because the power is
the credit
is gone, then it's gone off. You don't want to do that. Even in this arrangement that we are having, the management, the one who is going to come and manage ECG, would have to take into consideration that these are sensitive places and they are not supposed to be dealt with in commercial terms, because we can't afford to have our hospitals put on prepaid where you not have constant electricity. So the bulk of the debt is coming from these areas I've just mentioned, which is the hospitals and the education institutions and maybe some security agencies. This will still continue even when we offload the management of ECG to those people. And so on the government side, plans are afoot to pay off the debts, but government has also taken upon itself to put prepaid meters to ensure that government agencies, departments, ministries do not over-consume the electricity. So these are the steps put in place.
Okay. But, Madam Ayana, is this explanation satisfactory?
It's not.
At all?
No, I don't.
The fact that we have power and yet we can't distribute, and so a concessionaire is coming in to fix this distribution problem.
Yes, the distribution problem is the problem. We have a planning problem in this country. No matter how much you spend on whatever and you bring a new investor, when the town planning that we have in this country is so full of problems, you know, look, people build anywhere, people draw electricity anywhere, people change from residential to commercial anytime, so that some of these things are not even captured by the Electricity Company of Ghana. You understand? So when you start having these kinds of problems, it's even going to make it worse. Let me give you an example. We're talking about, remember the fires that came out at the markets, and we brought
some investigators
yes.
to take a look.
One of the major problems that we had was that our markets are not markets. You understand? When the infrastructure itself is not properly demarcated, it becomes a problem. We are talking about a situation where, so I'm trying to link up. So when you enter a market and you know that when you go to Togo markets and you know that up there it's textile, like the Kaneshi markets, you can easily be able to tell what went wrong. But when you go to a place like Makola, where there's textiles here, there's this food here, the same area, and stuff happens. Sometimes it's very difficult for you to be able to make out. So what I'm trying to say is this. ECG, it has happened before. When it happened somewhere in Singapore, what Lee Kuan Yew did was to sell out to the state, the people. Float shares for Ghanaians. If you think you need money to revamp, to change old wires, to do other things, to bring in new equipment, what you do is that you think of other things. Why don't you float the shares to Ghanaians to make that money for us to be able, because in that way you can also control the board of directors, you can control management. It will not have to be government coming in to give us another board of directors who decide on what kind of prepaid meters to buy without consulting probably the ECG workers themselves and letting them tell you the problems that come with metering. So we have meters that have come. ECG workers do not even really know how some of them are working, and Ghanaians are complaining. This whole thing is because there's so much government interference. When government has to be the one that gives them management, gives them the board of directors and everything, it means that if you bring in another investor, we are in trouble. Looking at Gapoha, let's look at Gapoha. I'm just talking about selling off things. Look at Gapoha, we're supposed to have gone into an agreement, a BOT agreement, build, own, operate and transfer. Now what is happening is this. At the end of it, you're giving it to somebody for 25 years. But we are asking, when that person even goes to do the roads or whatever they are supposed to do, 25 years, is there a clause in there that states that the roads must be motorable, they must be in good condition?
When he or she is leaving.
When he or she is leaving. This was asked to a minister and he couldn't give an answer. It was just like, so did we put that? Are we going to put that in the clause for the ECG contract, that when you come in for the privatization, after rationalizing 5 years, moving workers and putting some off, when you're leaving, is ECG going to be better off? Or are you just coming to take in your money and leave, like what happened to Aqua Vitals? You understand? So for me now, we have to do due diligence to whatever contracts we are going to have. And by now, Ghanaians must know who is coming, what percentage the person is, and what are the contents of that contract. It is us. We need to know. We can't just put this whole country's problems on the table for 3 or 4 people to decide.
But right, you see,
I'm grateful.
The workers should also exercise, but to exhibit good faith. Because my understanding was that I know the minister met them some time back and addressed their concerns. The minister, that's John Junapo, having met them, thought that they have understood. Now, this strike, alleged strike, has come to him as a surprise because he was unaware. Apparently, the workers have gotten some change of leadership in their front. And probably this could have accounted for this new change of attitude. But the minister has met them, and so my understanding is that by next week, John would actually meet the workers again, because there's now a new leadership, and probably this new leadership also needs some interaction.
I see.
Yes. So he'll meet them.
Okay. All right. But I'm sure John has heard of this threat to plunge the country into darkness tomorrow. I'm sure he will have to quickly deal with it. John, come in.
Well,
not John Jinapo.
I'm surprised that the minister claims he has met them and the people.
Yeah, some time ago, I remember there was a meeting, but
you see, when you meet people and all you did was to speak your mind to them and never took their concerns on board, that is not a meeting. And that is that is what the workers are complaining about, that their concerns have not been taken up, and you yourself have admitted on this program that you have actually not
been opened,
been transparent enough to the workers, and that you are advising them to bring them on board. So clearly there's a problem. We have to resolve it. I hope that we will be able to resolve it and move this nation forward, because electricity is so critical to the industrial progress of this country. In fact, even in our homes and our workplaces and everywhere, you need the power to be able to perform.
I'm grateful. Mr. Malba, let's quickly take a look at the Finder newspaper and deal with this one on the economy. Quite a worrying story for me, because early on, we have heard about the Economic Intelligence Unit, the IMF, suggesting that 2016 is likely to be a year of good tidings, and it says the government that comes into power will run over an economy that is in good shape. But 3 economic research agencies, the Moody's Ratings Agency, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, and SEPA have given some difficult picture of what is expected in 2017. It says that Ghana's economy is too weak to provide the threshold for a further fiscal consolidation envisaged by government, while it's ahead of 2017. Now, even though government has been touting this achievement and insisting that its economic reform agenda is bearing fruit, and will reposition the economy in a stronger trajectory. Now, it is arguing that the figures are not too exciting and that these idea of an economy picking up and doing well in 2016 is simply not going to happen, because it says, for instance, that a deficit of gross domestic product of below 3%, debt to GDP of 60%, and a stable currency and significantly lower interest rate by the time Ghana exits the 3-year IMF program won't be enough to put the economy in good shape. For me, it is a worrying situation. Mr. Amalba, let me quickly come to you, because government has suggested, the Economic Intelligence Unit has also predicted a boom in 2017. The IMF has said the same thing. This from home is worrying.
So you have 3 institutions, that the IMF, World Bank, then the Economic Intelligence Unit, saying that Ghana's economy in 2017 would improve tremendously. Then you have SEPA,
IFS, and then Moody's that
also
credit
giving
rating agency.
a gloomy
A
picture.
warning of a difficult time in 2017.
Yeah. But you see, as a lay person, I have seen that there cannot be development in a vacuum. Development must be predicated on something. I have seen massive infrastructure development. I have seen instances where areas which did not have water now have water. So when I'm told that because of this infrastructure development, come 2017, there will be some improvement in our economic conditions, I would understand and I would agree to it, because development is not based on something that you cannot find. It must be predicated on some foundation. And what is the foundation? The foundation for me is the infrastructure development. Moody's and Co. may be looking at it purely on the indices, economic indices. But if you look at the human index development that this government has chalked in terms of the provision of all these facilities, the infrastructure, the hospitals, the schools being built, and in this academic year, schools will open, and the free secondary school, those in the secondary school, boarding school will now begin to enjoy the free SHS. If you consider that this is the semester, the term that this will roll out, then clearly you will understand why we are saying that 2017 will be better, because those monies that would have been used to pay the school fees will remain in people's pockets. And you see, my analysis is based on the human index development. I'm not talking about percentages and what do you have. I'm talking about how people will begin to feel the impact of these interventions that the government has put in place. So I am not in a position to speak to Moody's nor the IFC and SEPA. I am in a position to speak to the things that I know and things that I can feel, which are the development and the social intervention policies that this government is putting in place. The Minister of Finance would take a look at the concerns raised by these institutions, but the ministry, and for that matter, government, is still targeting a single-digit inflation come next year. These are our targets. Our GDP, the debt to GDP ratio is being targeted to come to 60%. Now it's hovering around 70, 75. we are targeting all this.
The last time the finance minister says about 63.
Okay, so we are targeting 60%. So next year, all these things that the minister has talked about is what this government is targeting. I can't see anything that would derail the progression. As we speak now, the government is on course in the provision of its social intervention policies. Its infrastructure projects are all ongoing. Nothing has stopped it. All I think is that these are warning signs from these institutions. How can the Ministry of Finance factor in these things to ensure that we do not derail from our target?
Okay.
That's what is important.
I'm grateful. Madam Ayana, so then these institutions are talking about the 60% GDP to debt ratio. They're talking about a growth rate of over 3% and suggesting that in fact even these figures are not enough threshold to talk about that economy that will transform into what we're looking for, even in 2017, despite all the assurances.
I will always want to go by homegrown information. Homegrown policies, for that matter, is the one that I know that is taking a look at the immediate environment that I am in. The IMF will have their own way of measuring whether we are going to do well or not. But when you come down to realities, yes, there's been infrastructure. We've had hospitals, we've had schools, we've had all those other things. And my main question has always been, at what cost? We tend to think that by having these concrete things around us, we are developing. In a country where we are importing food now, most of the food that we eat, we import. We import everything else to toothpick. And I have not seen that many factories that have come up to tell me that come next year, things are going to improve. I have not seen how much has been injected into agriculture, which will then bring out the processing and the industrialization and the manufacturing for us to say that as a country, we are actually looking forward to something. I have not seen it. Probably we could say that we have the sugar factory or that. And then I've also heard about the shoe factory, which is complaining that people are not even patronizing their products. I am looking at a situation where just a couple of days ago, was yesterday, I read that out of about 100 people that probably go to Kolebu for their checkups and stuff, 60 people in the kidney department, 60 people get kidney disease out of the usage of herbal medicine. Why? You are building those hospitals. People cannot even afford it. They cannot even afford the drugs to look after themselves. And we get sick because probably we are not eating well, because the food in the market is very expensive. So the food basket itself today, as we said, is very expensive for the ordinary Ghanaian. So if you tell me that next year is going to be better, I am looking at things that you've put in place that are going to make next year better, and I don't see it.
Infrastructure isn't enough.
You see, the infrastructure that you're talking about, my brother just talked about free schools. Yes, you're going to have, give free schools, free education. That's enshrined in the Constitution. So if you tell us that people are going to get, instead of paying fees, people are going to have that money to put in their pockets, that's wrong. Probably you don't have a child right now who is in school. Because that money that you're not going to use for paying school fees, you're going to have to use to pay for extra tuition. You have to pay for extra tuition because, you see, it doesn't mean free is good. We're supposed to be giving free education to our children and they're being taught nothing. Then at the end of the day, we have to give them extra tuition. Then you have a school where even, and you know, 3 northern regions, sometimes they have to fight even for the grants to feed themselves. So parents have to dip into their pockets once more to feed their kids. So where is the free education? Is it free when you have to buy practically every textbook and every exercise book? Is it free when you have built schools in places where people might not even get access to those schools because of the distance, because of where the school is, and all the other amenities? Is it free? I mean, how are we going to cope with these free schools that you have built if there's no teacher accommodation? If there are no schools for those teachers to send their children, how is that going to impact?
This is not a starting point.
So it is a starting point. But let us not jump like we're doing, to say that things are going to be fine. Let us tune the minds of Ghanaians to know that times are hard. Yes, we are going to go through some difficulties, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. But let's not make it look as if come 2017, you know, because I have built schools and I have built hospitals and I have built this, so things are going to be okay. That's not going to be it. So the indicators right now is that we are not doing what we are supposed to be doing. And for me, any government worth its salt in Africa, which has 50% of arable land in this world, and for us in Ghana, having been blessed with this kind of arable lands everywhere, and we can't feed ourselves, we don't have any moral right to say that things are going to be okay. Because the ordinary person wants to be fed well. You feed yourself, then you can clothe yourself, and you can get shelter for yourself. But if we cannot put our money into agriculture, which for me is fundamental, because that is what is going to create jobs for the youth. That is going to create jobs for all those ordinary people like the Kayaye. The Kayaye, excuse me, are in these cities because of the agriculture breakdown in the 3 northern regions. When we had the rice mills, when we had the oil mills, those girls were not coming. But because we have stopped doing those things, it has brought them into the cities. So all these things we have to take care of. We cannot just sit down and think that by building all these things, it is going to end our woes.
I see, I'm grateful. John, quickly come in.
Well, the slamming of government by Modi's, IFS, SEPA, you know, clear indications of the monumental failure on the part of President Mahama on the economic front. And I will look at it both on the human index, as my brother did, Senior Maliba did, on the economic front, and also on the specific economic indicators as specified by these groups. He talks about the human index. At the moment, as we speak, go to various households in this country. One major difficulty is electricity bills, payment of electricity bills, which at the moment is even higher than your rent. People are paying 150 cedis a month for rent. In that same household, you pay about 300 cedis a month for your electricity bill. That is the human index at the moment. Fuel cost at the pumps. When in 2008, the world crude price rose to $147 per barrel, we were paying 5 cedis. Today, at $40 per barrel, it's being sold around 16 cedis. That is the difficulty Ghanaians are through. School fees, and he's talking about the future. He should talk about now. The so-called free education they say they are implementing, is it free? Out of 1,800 cedis, you give them 300 cedis support, and that is free. Is that free? The difficulty Ghanaians are in, just about 8 years ago, to go to university, you needed to pay 300 cedis a year. Today is 3,000. In fact, it ranges between 3,000 and 5,000. So where can the poor go? He's talking about human index. Even the poor people who were using teacher training allowances and nursing training allowances to improve themselves to get to university. Government has removed all those allowances from the students. So he is making...
I'm sure you heard over the weekend the president saying that those allowances have been restored.
Have they?
Have they? I have not heard it. Which of them?
Okay.
And when they were
just
taking
2 days ago, he said
which of them?
The allowance.
Both?
Teacher trainees.
It's in the budget?
When?
No, when he went to the tour of the North.
But I thought they said, Esiedun Ketia, the General Secretary of the NDC, said it doesn't make sense to give teacher training.
The president just
allowances.
said he's restored the allowance.
When? I haven't heard.
2 days ago in the Northern.
I don't know whether you have heard, Senior. Have you heard it?
You make yourself.
You see, it's a pity. But look, we need to reverse these economic difficulties. And it cannot happen at the way and rate President Mahama is taking us. And look at the specific indicators. When the NDC took over in 2009, in 2008, this country without an oil economy had grown at 8.4%. In 2011, President Mills pushed it to 14.4%. Today, as we speak, what is the economic growth rate? 4%. In fact, agriculture sector has declined from 8% to 0.04% last year. That is how bad President Mahama has managed this economy.
You're not talking about the new figure?
Which is the new figure?
The 2%?
2%.
Is that their new figure? Is that even comparable to the 8% they took it from? You see, it is a pity that without oil, this country could move from a poor country to a lower middle income country. When President Kufuor and the NPP took over this country, the entire economic GDP growth was 4 billion. By the time we left in 2008, the economy had quadrupled to 16 billion. And after rebasing, we were told the figure was about 35 billion Ghana cedis. Was that not so? What is it today? The NDC has failed this country, and especially President Mahama. He has no economic vision for this country. And it is worsened by the doomsday situation. He's talking about human index. He should ask himself how this doomsday has affected people's jobs and how the unemployment situation has worsened, and that even companies cannot even employ new workers. And government has also frozen all public sector employment as part of the conditionalities from IMF. So what human index is he talking about? The realities are clear. We see that this government has failed, and the unfortunate situation is that they are not even proffering hope. They are not showing us the way forward, apart from the corruption we hear every day and the inflation of figures of cost of infrastructure, the so-called infrastructure they talk about. Even compare what the infrastructure percentage to GDP. They have done just about 4.5%. The NPP did 9% on infrastructure development. And you could see the major infrastructure that we saw in this country. What have they done with all the touting about infrastructure? And you even calculate in terms of cost how they have moved our debt from 9 billion to 111 billion cedis at the end of this year. And what they have done with the money. What have they done? This infrastructure they talk about, where is it? They will point to measure about 5 or 6.
You have not seen the Green Book?
The Green Book of Artistic Impressions, drawings and pictures. They said they have built Ho Airport. He should take a flight to Ho Airport and let's see. You put a drawing in a book and claim you have built an airport. Where is that airport? So these drawings and paintings in their Green Book and making claims that, and why didn't they?
Is that the only thing you saw in the Green Book?
What other thing is there? A school that is supposed to cost 90,000 cedis built by MTN and Co. at the cost of 90,000 cedis. They are building it at 500,000 Ghana cedis. And their own ministers, go and ask the Minister of Local Government, Alhaji Collins Dauda. He stood at a table and almost cried. Why are our projects so expensive and so poor in quality? They are delivering corruption, incompetence, and nothing else. They are not showing vision. When it comes to the economic front, President Mahama has failed. And look, every time he tells us the economy is about to take off, every year I have laid a foundation. Is that how to build a nation? In this Fourth Republic, we are talking about laying foundation. When President Rawlings has had 8 years, President Kufuor has had 8 years, President Mills have had his time, and you have come, you are talking about foundation. How do you build foundation after almost 20-something years? Is that his concept of leadership
so for
and
you,
governance?
President Kufuor built the foundation.
It's not President Kufuor who even started foundation. We have built the foundation of this nation, and he must have economic vision to build upon it.
I see.
If today, in 2016, President Mahama is talking about building foundation in 2016, then he doesn't understand the concept of development of Ghana.
But right, you see,
A quick one, then we can jump on there.
in their 8 years of government,
They
did not add 1 kilowatt of power to the national grid. And that's how come we got into this situation.
That is not a fact.
We are being told that
who built the Bui Dam?
we were
Who built
told
the
that
Bui Dam?
you built
The
the Bui Dam.
T3
No.
and 2-3 Asokli
Would
power.
you let
Who
me
built
make
all
my
those things?
submission when you were talking
But
about
make facts.
Okay.
Make facts.
You never
have
built
your
a
time.
Bui Dam.
Talk to facts.
You never built Bui Dam.
What did we
Bui
do?
Dam was a foundation. Is that building? Is that building?
Who did
Is
Bui
that
Dam?
building?
Okay, so
Now let me make the point.
So you accept
Now
that
let
we
me
do
make the
something on
point. Now
Bui
let me
Dam?
make the
Who
point.
built the Asokli plant?
Asogli is a private institution.
But supported
Look,
by who?
the point is this: if their
The
economy
T3
was
and
good,
T2
if their
and
economy was
T3,
good,
who did them?
they wouldn't have sold Vodafone to prop up this economy. We were told that, but for the sale of the Vodafone, we wouldn't have been able to pay workers. During their time, they went for Eurobonds to do what? To come and pay salaries. We are not doing that this time.
okay.
If they are saying that they are not seeing the
Eurobond you went for,
infrastructure,
you didn't even get it.
if they are saying they are not
Because of
seeing the
pure
infrastructure
governance.
that is going on in all over the country, the people of this country will punish them because they are seeing the infrastructure and they are feeling it. I just want to tell him that this economy is better managed than during their time. Else, they would not have been selling Vodafone to pay salaries.
I'm grateful. Let's quickly look at Obinim's story. I'm running out of time. Now, supporters lock down police headquarters. That's the Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide says supporters on rampage over cock and bull story. The Daily Graphic says Obinim supporters clash with police. Madam Rhoda, I'm siding with you again. This issue of arresting people and either the family or supporters rushing to the police station, really, is the society getting to where it shouldn't go?
I don't know, but it looks like the indiscipline has even gone to our churches. Obinim has been in the news for quite a bit, and I guess he has a large following. My only problem is Obinim. I believe that we have to look at him again. I think he needs help. If you remember Reverend Jim Jones,
right?
Yeah. When I read the story and I look at the way Obinim is going around, it actually frightens me. I get this feeling of a Jim Jones being nurtured in this country. Because when you see the supporters, and they look quite responsible and all that.
Yeah. Elderly women. You can see the picture on the front page of the Daily Graphic.
To be like, really out there to support their man. My only worry is on the lighter side, is that he even allowed the handcuffs to get onto his two hands. For someone who could easily have changed to a snake or something else, I don't think this was what I expected. I expected
mosquito spray.
I expected for him to vanish or something, and not to even spend a night in the prison cells, because like someone said, he could have turned into a mosquito and just flown out and we'll all be free. I think that Obinim needs some support, some help. Psychological examination, yes. He needs to see a psychiatrist. We have to really give him help. And also, there seems to be this, I don't know, but I keep asking, who is monitoring these churches? The mushrooming of these churches, these one-man churches. They worry us on the radios in the morning, they are on telly, they are everywhere. You find them in the marketplaces, but people do patronize them. And I'm asking, what regulation do we have for these kinds of things?
We're told his church is not under any of the church groupings. The Christian
So
Council,
we don't know, he's not apostolic, he's not charismatic, he's not...
we're told his church is not under any of that.
But is that allowed? I mean, is this something that we should allow for somebody to have a church that doesn't come under any form of regulation? It's a problem, and someone was telling me that, look, Obinim has so many big guns coming to his church and asking for prayers from him or some form of consultation. And maybe that is why every time he's able to get away with these kinds of things. But I think that this time round, since we've gotten him and he's not been able to vanish or turn into a snake or something, we should send him. We should ask Professor Sari to go and talk to him a bit, and let's see if he's really okay. Because I'm really scared of this Jim Jones attitude of it. Yes, I'm really getting scared of it, and I think that we have to look at the registration of churches again.
Okay.
Our constitution, yes, it gives us the right, freedom of choice, for worship and everything. But it doesn't mean that we should give these people the chance to come, and one day we'll wake up and 2,000 people, all people are
all right, I'm grateful. Madam John, you take this angle for me, where people will quickly rush to police stations when their friends, relatives are picked up. Is that what we should encourage?
The specific case of Obinim, for me, I was baffled at his handling. You invited the person to come to the police station, and I speak as a human rights lawyer. The person voluntarily comes to your place, and then you handcuff him.
What is wrong with that?
Absolutely wrong with that.
What is wrong with that?
I mean, what is the idea of handcuffing? Is to prevent you from resisting arrest or to prevent you from running away. This is a person who has voluntarily turned himself in. Whatever is the procedure and processes, he came with his lawyers. You could go through it without harassing him the way they did. As far as, it happened to Obinim, so maybe people are not complaining, but it could happen to you tomorrow. What was the point in putting handcuffs on Obinim when he has turned himself? But he hasn't.
But we can't confirm whether he resisted.
He never did. We are all following this Obinim thing, his public thing.
Were you there?
I'm saying that I wasn't there, but he turned the report. You have read the report. He turned himself in.
And you say you saw
actually, yes, he's been handcuffed.
Right.
After turning
And you were
himself
wondering
in,
why he was handcuffed.
sometimes you take your clients to the security people and the way they treat them as if an accused person doesn't have a right.
But in the case of Obini, you were not there. That's why I'm trying.
I'm saying that the report is that he turned himself in. Why did they handcuff him?
But we don't know what happened at the police station.
Have you heard any
I haven't
counter
heard
report?
any.
And I'm saying
And
that
we have
it
not
is
asked
wrong.
the police why he was handcuffed. That's what
Yes,
I'm
but why should
hard.
it be so? When a suspect turns himself in, you don't handcuff the person.
But you earlier said that if a suspect resists at the police station, he can't be handcuffed.
But we are not told he has resisted.
Exactly. That's where I want us to go.
We don't
So
know.
so we can move on. We don't know.
We don't know.
Well, so let me put it in that light, that the handling of people who turn themselves in should be different from people who are running away and resisting arrest.
Right.
And the question of bail, I mean, for me, keeping him all this while to create this unnecessary tension was avoidable. This is somebody you can easily trace when it comes to question of availability. He has a church, he has a place you can easily locate him. He will always respond to your call and invitation. So why do you keep him? To create unnecessary tension. You understand? You see, we should not look at it because it's Obinim and people think the issues are controversial. We must deal with him as a citizen with a right. And I think that he has not been handled fairly.
The police has no right to keep him within the limit.
Well, you see, we must
because
deal,
they know his church and can locate him.
I'm coming. We must deal with case by case basis. What was the specific case of Obinim? What has he done? And so far, we haven't even, and you see, the story says that cock and bull story. That's the report. So you don't really know what are the facts of the Obinim's case, except the fact that today we were told he was flogging some members of his church and that was the reason of his call. The next day it turned to a story of what? Fraud and something. We don't know who is the complainant, what are the facts of this case, and you are condemning the man before giving him opportunity to defend himself.
I don't know why the police should keep him within the limit, the time period allowed legally, since they don't know what really the case is.
You see, we must not handle it because it's Obinim.
Okay.
That is where I think most of you are getting it wrong. And I pray that tomorrow it will not be you.
No, I bet.
Yes, because you see, we are all within the laws and we must allow the law to work. I do not.
I hear you lawyers
I
who say
do.
that
Yes.
outside 48 hours, he should not be kept.
Yes, but there must be grounds for people to keep you even for a minute because you are entitled to your liberty within the Constitution.
If I run into trouble with the police because they know me at TV3, they can just ask me to come there. I'm allowed to go.
If the basis of your trouble is frivolous and vexatious and without basis, as in the case we are being told, you should not.
Investigations, we can talk about frivolity.
And you, I mean, what is the point? If what will Obinim without keeping him? Couldn't the police have done the so-called investigation?
Well, I don't know. I don't work for.
And what I'm saying is that so far, the message or the information in the public does not warrant the kind of treatment they are handling to
Does it, from the argument you're making, are you suggesting that because of that, people should go to police stations when they pick up their relatives and friends? We saw people, water cannons chasing them. Is that what you're suggesting?
What I'm saying is that if there is no basis for you to abuse the rights of the people, his supporters will protest. They also have the right within the law to show their disagreement with the handling of their man.
All are equal before the law.
Yes.
There is no Obinim who is different from anybody who breaks the law. So how are people treated when they are arrested? That for me is what we should look at. Are other people also handcuffed just like they did to Obinim, or Obinim has been handcuffed and yet others are not handcuffed? We even have a situation where in Obinim's case, he was asked to walk or drive to the police station. In some people, whilst they are sleeping in their rooms, they will pick them up. So I don't think that he has been maltreated. I think that the law is taking its course. He has been given a lawyer, attaching his lawyer. I think that the law must be allowed to work, but no preferential treatment should be given to anybody. All are equal before the law.
I'm grateful. Madam Roda asked a question. If you know the Chief Justice has bought his property that she lives in, do you have information on that?
I have no information on that.
I'm grateful. Abraham Maliba is a legal practitioner, member of the NDC legal team. Madam Roda Ayana is the former second national vice chair of the Convention People's Party. And John Kuma is a communication team member of the NPP. Gentlemen and ladies, I'm grateful for your time this morning. Wish you a great Thursday morning. We're going to weekend and wish you a great weekend too.